Okay, welcome back everybody. Today we are going to be coding our final page, the contact page. You might be doing these a little bit out of order, but this is my last video that I am making. All of the other pages should be up there in the announcements for you. So there are a couple of components with the contact page that you need to be aware of. So I want to pull up the week 3 assessment, which discusses forms. Again, make sure you are reading over the assessment, the prompt, everything. You're coming to the live session to understand, what all of this means. And you will notice that there is, under the resources, a PHP document that you need to download. So make sure that you click on that and that you bring that PHP document into your long care site. So drag it, it's called formmail.php. So unzip it and drag it into your long care site. It should show up in your files as formmail.php. And there will probably be a question mark there. So make sure that you are downloading that document and you are dragging it over, because we need to make some changes to that document, and that is actually going to be what makes our form work, but it won't be working until we upload our site to the server. So it's kind of a little bit crazy how to get these to work. So this one's probably, it might be one of the tougher pages for you to download, to code. So that's why I kind of wanted to save it till the end, and we'll be going over a lot of this in the live session for week 3, so it'll be part of our practice file, so we can practice it a couple of times, what we're doing. PHP is just a different type of code. It looks a little bit different than HTML and CSS. All right, so let's open up that contact page that we already created. And again, make sure, if you haven't done it, that you have changed your title to Contact Lawn Care Landscaping. And if we look at the instructions, it says that the contact page has a similar layout to the crew page. So let's look at our wireframe and see if that is so. So the similarity is that one bar that's going across, kind of like on Meet the Crew. So I guess that you could say it has a similar layout, but we do have this big form in the middle. So what I want you to do is let's just delete out all the things. Let's delete out everything in our main area. So close up your header, close up your footer, and open up your main area. And I just want you to grab these 3 div rows, and we're just going to delete them. I think it might be easiest for us to just kind of start off fresh on this page. I'm not going to lie. So just delete those, and you should basically just have your header and your footer there. Your main area is still here. There's just nothing in it. And I want you to open up your crew page and go to your main area. And we're going to copy and paste in that first div row that has the column that says Meet the Crew. So you can just grab the first one. So just hit copy, go back to your contact, and what we're going to do is we're going to paste it as a child. There we go. Meet the Crew. However, let's look at, I'm going to move my contact page text down to 1 page again, and I'm done with that. Let's cross it off the list, right? Let me zoom in a little. I mean, I can see it, but just for, the rest of you guys at home. There we go. All right. Oh, and I see I have a typo. Fix that typo. All right, so I have an H1 right here. In original, when I copied it in, it says Meet the Crew, but it should say Contact Us. So I'm going to copy that, go over, and just paste in my new text. I can save it. I can also close out my crew page for a moment. And let's see what's going on. I have an H2 headline that says, how may we help you? And I have a paragraph that says, our goal is to assist you putting the pieces together with any or all of your lawn care or landscaping needs. And then I have, please fill out the form below. And then I have an H3, which has all of these phone numbers and office hours and after hours emergency. Who has a landscaping emergency? Maybe if you lose a tree. I was gonna say, who has a landscaping emergency? I really need these flowers planted right now. Please come out, it's midnight. You know, maybe if a tree came down, but I think that should be your only landscaping emergency. If, you know, I would hate to be a landscaper and have somebody call me that their lawn needs to be mowed. They might send the crazy guy on the lawnmower to come help you. All right, so we're gonna kind of just build out this page. So I have my headline that I just added, and I'm gonna make a, let me close up my div row as well. All right, I am going to make a new div. So I want to insert after. So that's why I closed all of this up. It's just going to be a new div. And I'm going to insert a child inside. And this is also going to be a div. And I am going to name it, and it's going to have a similar naming convention to the other pages, but it's actually different. So I'm going to name it column space, column MD, I'm going to call it 3/4. So we've got a half, we've got a full, we've got a quarter, and now we have 3/4. So we've reached all of the measurements at this point. And I'm going to remove up here by live area all that random code that it put in. Let's get rid of that right off the bat so you don't forget to do that. And inside of this new div that you have created, I want you to make yet another div. So insert a child, and you're going to call this div period, so a class contact, and remove the content for new div tag goes here, either in your live area or in your code. There we go, so you don't forget. And inside of here, you're going to insert a child, and it's going to be an H2. And you are going to grab, how may we help you? And paste that in there. Next, what I want you to do, and name this. Name this H2 tag, period contact H2. Just so when we have to make some selectors, you know, we're all good. Next, you're going to insert after a paragraph and name your paragraph, contact P for contact paragraph. And let's grab this paragraph text, copy that, and paste that in. And at this point, you should know how to paste into the live area, so I'm not going to tell you every single time what to do because we've done this quite a few times today. And what I want you to do next, but we're not going to deal with that next, is I want you to go up to insert, and it's probably still on Bootstrap components from when we were doing our gallery. I want you to go to form. You can probably see where we're going with this. And I want you to click on form while you have contact P selected. And it's going to ask you, do you want to go before, after, or nested? You want it to go after. And you can leave, for right now, leave content for form goes here so we know where it is. So we don't, you know, not like you really are going to forget, but just leave it where it is. And it's going to give it a name, an ID called form 1, but let's name it period contact form, just to kind of keep things on the same, you know, name plane. And we're going to deal with actually doing all of the content for the form after. So you can close up this column 3/4 that you just made. And then I want you to make another div which again is going to sound familiar. And we're going to insert, so close up this whole div and then do insert after. It's going to be div, and we're going to put period column space column medium or MD 1/2, oops, 1/2 space call, ooh, typos everywhere, call large 1/4. Let's make sure I have that right. Column MD 1/2, column LG 1/4. And that should be the same as on my index page, but it should have came up and it didn't. So I just want to double check I have that named correctly. Whoops. Let's go back to my main. I'm just going to copy that naming convention. It's probably correct, but I did like so many typos that, there we go. All right, well, it looks exactly the same. I just had a lot of typos there, so I want to make sure that I'm all set. All right, and delete that out. All right, and what I deleted out was that div information content for new div goes here. So if you're wondering what I deleted out, and in here, I am going to insert a child, and it's going to be a P for paragraph tag. And again, I'm going to give it that name, contact P. So it goes along with all of the content for everything else. And I'm going to, oh, this should be an H3. That was my bad. Hold on. H3, not contact P. I accidentally did a paragraph, but it needs to be an H3 tag. And I'm going to grab all of this information, put that there, and I'm going to need some breaks. So need a break basically between, there should be 4 lines. So I'm going to do a break between the phone number and office hours, and a break between Friday and after hours, and a break between after hours emergency and the phone number. There we go. And you'll notice it put it in my footer for some reason, which, remember when we were, oh, you might not remember because you're probably doing this before, but in the crew page, I was talking that I might need to do something with the CSS in the footer, and I believe that now is the time I probably need to do that. So in footer, under global, come down and hit clear both. There we go, and that moves that down, moves that footer out of the way. So footer, clear both, add that property in. If you are getting that your 1/4 column is running into your footer, it was happening before on one of my pages and then it stopped happening. So I said I might need to add in this code. So if you've already done the crew page, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't coded the crew page yet, you have no idea what I'm talking about. And just do a save all related files. All right, and let's try to preview this. See what's going on our page. All right. So you can see that I'm going to have to obviously add in some CSS because this is in the wrong area. This is here, and there's not much, you know, going on. Let's look. I'm going to zoom in for a second. All right, some things are bolded, so we might want to bold them in our code. So it looks like the whole phone number is bolded. So I'm going to select it. Whoops. Actually, I'm going to select up here in the live view, the whole phone number. And we click B to add a strong tag. Then it looks like just the words office hours are bolded. Select those. and just after hours emergency, not the phone number. Go, and we'll save that. Just want to make sure it resembles what's going on here. All right. And next we're going to deal with the form. So let's look and see what goes as required elements in our form. We need to have a name, email, phone number, 2 checkboxes, a comment area, a send, and a reset button. So we're going to have to add those elements into our form. So let's go back into Dreamweaver, and if you haven't saved, make sure you save. And you can close up that column that you were working on and go back to the original one that has your form in it. Here you go, form area. And we're going to go to the insert panel again. And this is a good point to take out that content for form goes here. Just remove that so you don't forget. All right. So first things first, we need a text field for the name. So I am going to input a text field. So with form selected, I want to go up into insert form and insert text. And it's going to say, do you want it before, after, or nested? In this case, I want to nest it because I'm nesting all of my form elements inside of that form tag. So you're going to hit nest. And it's going to give you a label and an input field. In the label, you can double click and just put name. And you can leave text field exactly how it is. Next, you want to insert email. So that's the second one down. Click on that. This time you're going to do after because they're still inside of your form, but you want it to be after that text that you just put in. And this one automatically will put in a label for email. So that was easy. Next, what do we need? All right, so we've done name and email. Cross those out. We need phone. So you can see the little telephone icon. Insert that. When you have email selected, insert tell. Tell, and you want to do after. And you can change it from tell if you want to phone, because that's what it says in our copy. So phone in the label, and then make sure you're on that input. Next, we need preferred method of contact, and we have to have 2 checkboxes. So I want to put in, scroll down, a checkbox group because I need more than one checkbox. So I'm going to select checkbox group and I want it to be after my tell. And the name of the checkbox group is going to be, you can just leave it as checkbox group. The first label will be email. The second label will be phone. And hit OK. And you'll notice that it puts it in, it nests it inside of this paragraph tag. What you want to do is you want to select the P and you want to insert one more label. In this one, you're going to nest. And content for label goes here. You are going to change that to preferred method of contact. There we go. And again, this whole thing kind of still looks like a mess because we're going to have to add some CSS to it. Next, what we need to add in is a comments questions area. So a text field area. So for this one, we don't want this text box right here. What we want instead is a text area. So with that whole paragraph closed, which have our checkboxes, you want to insert, where is it, text area, and we're going to do after. And it's going to give you a label. And for that label, we're going to say comments, questions. There we go. And select text area. And next, the only thing we have left is a send button and a reset button. So with that selected, the text area selected, we're going to insert a submit button after. And it's going to say submit. So down here in the code, where it says value, you need to change submit to send. And that's going to change what the inside of the button says. And then with that input submit selected, we are going to insert a reset button. And what the reset button does is, whoops, submit, insert, reset. Oh, no. All right, that's why. If you have the whole thing, save, save, save. Oh, come on. You might have to input, type. There we go. All right. If it was giving you trouble and it wouldn't just let you put in a reset button, you might have to manually put that in. And then you can kind of just do the same exact code right here. Copy this, paste, name it reset. Your ID would be reset, and the value would be reset. There we go. It's giving you any trouble like it was giving me trouble. All right, perfect. All right, and save all. And we can double check what's going on. So here's our form. It's clearly not very pretty. But you know, hey, it's in there, right? So remember that form.html, the PHP that we downloaded. We need to add that into the code regarding our form. So let's go back into Dreamweaver. And for this, it might be easier for you to just be in code view so you can see what's going on. Up here where it says, and this is code that it automatically put in for you. And what you might want to do is just kind of close up your header, close up that first div, close up the second div, close up this div, whoops, close up this div, open this one up, and just find where your code is. Might be a little bit easier for you. There it is. All right, for your form. All right. Close that. Nope, it's going to close up my form. If it's easier for you to kind of close up some of the code so you're not looking at so much, you can definitely do that. What you're looking for is the line of code that says form method post, name form1, class contact form. And we need to change this code. So in between these two brackets, I want you to type in form action and just hit enter. And we're going to put in form mail, and you'll notice it's pulling up the name formmail.php. Hit enter. Then space method, hit enter. It's going to be post, hit enter, space name, hit enter. It's going to be PHP form. Go outside of your quotes, hit enter. Class will be that contact form. Go outside of your quotes, hit space, title, will be PHP form and hit save. So what it's doing is it's calling on that PHP script in form mail, and it's telling it to post the form, and it's basically telling your form what to do. So at this point, we need to open up that PHP file and do some changes to it. And you're going to get some errors when this happens, because in order for PHP to work, it needs to be running on your server. It doesn't run through the browser. So until you upload this entire site to the Adobe Business Catalyst server, the form is not going to work. But that doesn't mean that you can't change the code so it looks correct and it should work once you upload it. So double click on the formmail.php, and you're probably going to get like some error like, do you want to open this? Do you still want to do this? Like, you know, the world is coming to an end, and just hit okay. And they'll say dynamically related files can't be discovered because a testing server is not defined. They'll say, do you want to set it up? You don't want to set it up right now. You just want the XHTML to show up so you can do some editing in it. And there's only two things that you need to change. And this is where like this looks completely different. You want to change line 17 and line 18. So receiver's email address goes here. You are the receiver. So you would put in your email address right there. I am going to put in my email address, which is shannon.mcnamara@independence.edu. Next, I would put in a subject. So that's what's going to show up in the subject line when any email comes from my form. So I want to say lawn care landscaping contact form or something. So that way when I get the emails, I know where they're coming from. And then I'm just going to hit save. And then I'm going to close it. And that is it. So scary looking file, very easy to fix. All right. So let's go back into split view. And you'll notice nothing happened even though we changed, you know, that code. Nothing happens. Even better. Don't we like that? I like it when nothing happens, when nothing is supposed to happen. So now we can concentrate on our CSS for our form. So if you want to go over into your style sheet, we can do that. And let's go into our CSS designer. Make sure we're in global. And we're going to scroll down till we get to this box that says inspiration. We're going to add a selector, and it's going to be dot contact. First one that comes up. Boom. And this is going to deal with, obviously, all the stuff regarding our contact form. So I want you to change the height to pixels. Change it to 600 pixels. I want you to change the background. And this is where, let's look at our wireframe. It says puzzle photo background 20%. Here's what I am going to tell you to make your life easier. There is a way in the CSS that you can bring down the opacity to 20%, and it's a lot of, like, sometimes it works, sometimes there's problems with it. Open up your contact background. Where is it? There we go. In Photoshop. And we're just going to manually change it to 20% in Photoshop and save a new file and save ourselves a lot of aggravation. So in your layers, whoops, double click, okay, change the opacity to 20%, do a layer, flatten image, do a file, save as, don't save over the original, and name it _20. And hit OK. Boom, there's your 20%. So now under background image, you want to browse and pull up that contact background 20. Set your background repeat to repeat. It's the first set of all 4 boxes. And let's go back in. Let's change our width to percent, not 0 though, to 90%. And let's change our margin on the left to auto and our margin on the right to auto. And let's see what the heck is going on when we did this. So it kind of, you know, puts it in the middle of the page, keeps it in the middle of the page, and gives it some buffer, you know, on the sides, even in the smallest size. And the image isn't, you know, it's not that big, so for the 1024, so that's why you got to kind of fudge it a little bit and tell it to repeat, and not that that looks great, but it's better than nothing. All right, next, underneath this selector, you're going to make a selector for H2 space contact, H2, and the text is already capitalized. You want to change the padding on the bottom to 10 pixels, the margin on the top to 20 pixels, the margin on the left to 20 pixels, margin on the right to 20 pixels, and the margin on the bottom to 10 pixels. And that's not changing, hold on. There we go. All right, take off the period, just do contact H2, period contact H2. Sorry, I typed that in wrong. Every single time I end up doing that. All right, let me see. Trying to decide which way I want it to go. There we go. All right. Padding, all right, padding on the top to 10 pixels. That was my bad. I'm like, why isn't it moving it down? All right, so padding on the top to 10 pixels, padding on the bottom to 10 pixels. I missed one. And the margin exactly where you have it. So just like that. And I was going to tell you to tell it to capitalize, but it's still capitalized from the regular H2 selector that we had created. Next, we're going to make a selector for period, contact P, so paragraph text. For this, I want you to set the font weight to 200. I want you to set the margin to auto on the left and auto on the right. And I want you to set the width to percentage and 90%. Kind of center that. Next, we're going to make a selector for the whole form. So period, contact, form. And for this one, I want you to set the margin on the left to 5%. Not pixels, but percent. I want you to set the width again to 90%. I want you to set the font weight to 200. I want you to set, I know I'm all over the place, the padding on the bottom to 20 pixels. And, oh, I missed the right-hand margin. The margin on the right should be 5% as well. And I want you to have it float left. There we go. And you'll notice it changed some of these things, but it didn't change all of them, so we're going to have to deal with that. So let's add a selector, contact form, space P, space label. So we're going to deal with these labels that are there. And I want you to go to text and change the font weight to 200. Now they match. And then we're going to make another selector, contact. We're going to say space input. I want you to change the width to percents and 100%. So that makes these boxes run the whole length so people can see what they're typing in. Next, we're going to deal with the checkboxes. So we're going to make a selector, period, checkbox. And we're going to tell it to float left. Oh, wait a minute. I think this might be, let me see what my checkboxes are called. I think I named them the wrong thing. Hold on one second. Go to my form. They are called hashtag checkbox. So I'm going to name this whole group checkbox. There we go. So in that paragraph that has all the checkboxes in it, name it with a class, so period checkbox. So that way we can just target what's going on in there. There we go. All right. And this is going to float left. And the width, change it to percentage, and I'm going to change it to 33%. Let me, let me change, take that off of there. Let's see, hold on one second. Maybe just put it on the label. There we go. All right, that works better. All right. This label should be okay. So on each of the labels inside of this paragraph tag, we're going to change it to text box, to checkbox, checkbox, and checkbox. So that way they're all running together basically. And so left, and we'll deal with that after. I'll deal with that after. All right, next we need to make a selector and name it hashtag text area. And for this one, we want it to be, let's go to width, 100%. And I want my height to be 200 pixels. So it looks like a good, amount of space that they can type in. Kind of gives a good amount. And you'll notice when I put in the inputs, it changed that send and resend button. So we need to fix that. Or maybe that height's a little bit big. Let's try 150. There we go. All right, so next I need to do the submit and my reset button. So I'm going to make my selector for submit. I'm going to change my width to 100 pixels. There we go. That looks a little bit more reasonable, right? I want it to float left. I want the font weight inside to be 200 as well, keeping with the consistent look. I want the text transform to be uppercase. And I want my margin on the right to be 10 pixels. Oh, that's why it keeps doing that. I'm like, why does it keep going to my label? There we go. And then I'm going to do pretty much the same exact thing with my reset button. So we'll do hashtag reset. And I'm going to change the width again to pixels, not percent this time. So 100 pixels. I want it to float left. I want my padding on the left of this one to be 10 pixels. I want my font weight to be 200 and my text transform again to be uppercase. And then let's save all of this. Save all related files. And then we will move on to doing the media queries next. Okay, so I had said that we should move right on to the media query, the 768 media query, but how about before we do that, we take a look at the global, which is actually on mobile, and see what's going on. So when I get down to the size, I can see that the phone, office, and after hours is running really close to the edge here. So I need to kind of deal with that. So what I want to do is I want to add a name, a class name to my H3 in that 1/4 div. So I'm going to name it contact H3, kind of like all the other ones I was doing. And then up in my selectors under global, I'm going to, under contact H2, I'll make a new selector and call it contact H3. And I'm going to add in some properties. I want to change the width to 90%. I want to change my margin to auto on the left and auto on the right. And see how that bumps that over? So it's not sitting there right on the edge anymore. So I can save that. I'm going to do a file, save all related files, and that kind of takes care of moving it off of the edge of my screen, which is basically what I wanted to do. All right, so now we can look at the 768, and let's deal with what's going on in that for CSS. All right, so let's scroll down to under this column, one period column, and we're going to make a new selector. And we're going to call it .contact. And we're going to change the width to 90%. Again. And we're going to change the background image to the contact background 20%. This time, yes. This time though, we're not going to set the repeat. We're just going to leave it. There we go. Save that. Then what we are going to, whoops, somehow ended up outside of it. There we go. Then, oh, why on earth did you do that? Oh, I just had something weird happen with mine. Where are you? Just copy that. And paste over this. There we go. All right, much better. Good save. It's like something weird just happened there. I got some weird thing. Instead of looking into it, I just hit yes, and that was not the correct thing to do. All right, and then I'm going to make another selector, and I'm going to name it checkbox. So period checkbox. for that class. And I'm going to change the width to % again and to 30%. And then I'm going to make a selector for period contact form. Okay, enter. Change the width to 90%. I'm going to not float it, so make sure it's not floating. And clear out anything. So I don't think it was floating, so that should have been good. That looks right. And that's all I need for the 768. So let me save that. And then we're going to move on to the 1024. So underneath with 1024 selected, let's go down to probably this one. And I'm going to add a selector and name it contact. And I am going to change the height to 600 pixels. And the background, I'm in the, oh, no wonder why. I was in the wrong folder. I was like, why did it do that? Bounced out of my site somehow. This probably won't happen to you. I have a couple of folders going here, and that was my bad. There we go. All right. Without that error, so that makes sense. And then no background repeat on this one either. Then I am going to do another selector for period contact H2 and make sure that everything, let's see what's going on here. Let me close it out. Still getting that background repeat, which I don't want on here. So let me go back to my global. And here to that contact. I'm going to remove that repeat and hit save. Doesn't seem to be updating for some reason. Oh, this could just be mine. It's probably mad that I've done so many things today. All right, so I'm back in my min width 1024 pixels, and I'm back on the contact H2. So I want to change my padding on the top to 10 pixels, my padding on the bottom to 20 pixels. I want to change my margin on the top to 20 pixels. My margin on the left to 20 pixels. My margin on the right to 20 pixels. Oops, 20 pixels. And my margin on the bottom to 10 pixels. And then let's see, I need to make a selector for my contact form, period contact form. And my margin on the left is going to be 20 pixels. Let's see if it's like even moving. All right, save all relay files. That should not still be. That's so weird. It's not even saying that it's Set to repeat, and it's repeating. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me go back into my global. Oh, contact, background. Oh, maybe no repeat. Let's try that. That makes 0 sense. No repeat. Save. Background. No repeat. And the background goes away on here. That makes 0 sense. Oh, file. Save all related files. You probably don't need to do this. This is probably mine. Just messing up. Messing up. Oh, there we go. And it came back. And that makes 0 sense. Okay. So yours is probably fine. So we'll go back over what I just did, and I'll show you the selectors one more time. But you can see that something wasn't saving and refreshing on my end. So hopefully it was not doing that for you. Let's go back to that selector I just created under the 1024 for contact form. And I had put in, I think I only got about as far as my margin on the left being 20 pixels. All right. And my margin on the right should, I'll leave that at 0 for now. I want to change my width though to % and to 50%. And I want to change my padding on the bottom to 20 pixels. And I want to float this left. And I'm going to have to deal with this information here. Which I forgot what I named that. Contact H3. And I think the problem is, oh, I know what the problem is. Silly me, I did not make my 3/4. I'm like, why isn't this moving? Remember how I renamed this 3/4 and I said this is a new div that's going to be 3/4? It would help if I actually put in a selector for 3/4. I'm like driving myself crazy here, wondering why it's not working. All right, so under your column large 1/4, under your 1024, add a selector, and it's going to be column, you just name it column medium, 3/4, and we're going to set the width for that to be 60%. And we'll do a file, save all related files. Let's see if it'll preview. There we go. All right, I'm not losing it. Not yet anyways. So there we go. All right, now I feel a little bit better. Totally forgot to add that in. All right, so got the column 3/4. We've got the contact at 600 pixels high, the H2 in, we have the contact form in, and that bumped this up here, which is exactly where I wanted it to go. Perfect. And the inputs are still at 100%, so we're good. The checkboxes are still where they're supposed to go, even though for some reason they are down here, and I don't know why it's doing that. I'm not gonna lie, because it should be fine. On all my other ones, it looks fine. And again, this could just be me. And this is running out of the page So what I want to do is my text area in this area. I'm going to make a new selector, and I'm going to name it hashtag text area. And I want the height to be 100 pixels. And I want the width to be 100%. Files, save all related files, try that again. And there's something, oh, that's why. Let's try 90% there and see if that works. Just trying to. Double check all my work. All right, so now this is running out of here. All right, I know why. Contact form. Text area. Let me change that from 100 to 90%. There we go. And so contact form, your width should be 90%. And sometimes you're gonna have to, like, you know, finagle with things sometimes. It's not gonna be perfect the first time. And I've got a lot of space under here. So contact P. Let me try making a new selector for contact P. I'm gonna set that to 0 pixels. Oh, come on. Save file, save all related files. So that moved it up, but I definitely need some padding over here, or at least to set my width to 90%. It's like it's not even saving when I'm in the CSS at this point. And so that moved that up a bit. All right, so I've added a selector now for contact P. And I've added a 10 pixel margin all the way around. My padding's at 0 and my width is at, I have it at 90%. I could probably go up to 100% honestly on this. Let's double check what 100% looks like on our screen. Running outside of it. So let's go back down to 90. Let's leave it at 90. Let's save that. That's good. And let's see what happens when this starts to. I'm not gonna lie, I hate putting backgrounds on things such as forms, because this image is clearly not the correct size. So it's never going to fit correctly. And it's not a tiled background. So when you start to tell it to repeat itself, it looks awful. So this isn't the best image to choose to put behind a form. So that's why there's been so much kind of finagling. Really has to do with this background image, but they're, you know, it's part of the requirements that they're telling you to add. So we're going to add it. It's not going to fit correctly, and I'm okay with it. If you want to sit there and you want to mess with this CSS to get that background image to fit perfectly across the entire thing, that is completely fine. You can keep working at it. If you are at the point where you're just like, you know what, it looks good, I've been a little bit confused, that is fine too. I know that the form is always one of the hardest ones, especially when it comes to doing the CSS code, because I've already coded this once and I'm following my own printouts basically, and a couple of things are looking a little weird on my screen here that weren't looking weird in my other version of it, and I probably have just one or two things off, but I'm not going to sit here and troubleshoot anymore on my end because it might look fine on your end. So let's go over quickly the selectors that we created today, because we were kind of bouncing around a little bit on this contact form. So I'm going to start up at global, and let me just pull up my DOM panel so we can see anything named with the contact name is what I'm going to be looking for in my CSS. So in global, let's go down to the first one. It's period contact. And let's show that on the screen. So you might want to, you know, kind of pause and double check your code against my code as we're doing this. We've got the height at 600 pixels. We have that background image. We have the width at 90%. The margin left is auto. The margin right is auto. And our background is set to no repeat. Then we have contact H2. Padding on the bottom is 10 pixels. Margin on the top is 20 pixels. Margin on the left is 20 pixels. Margin on the right is 20 pixels. Margin on the bottom is 10 pixels. And padding on the top is 10 pixels. Then we have contact H3. The width is 90%. Our margin on the left is auto, and our margin on the right is auto. Then we have contact P. Our font weight is 200, our margin on the left is auto, our margin on the right is auto, and our width is 90%. And we might want to, I have a hunch that we should copy this when we get to the 1024. So I'm just going to do that now because I have a hunch. Then we have contact form. Margin on the left is 5%, our width is 90%, our font weight is 200, our padding on the bottom is 20 pixels, our margin on the right is 5%, and we're floating left. Then we have that contact P label, so those were all those labels, and we have a font weight of 200. Then we have contact input, the width is 100%. Then we have our checkbox. The width is 33%, and we're floating left. And for some reason in this code, this one's dropping down on me, and it hasn't been doing that before. So it could just be mine. If it's happening on yours, I'm not going to take off points. Then we have text area right here. And we have width is 100%. My height is 150. And if you want to, let's see what it looks like at 100. You can bump it down to 100 actually, and then I'll move those buttons up, or even bump it down to like 95. There we go. And that bumps those buttons up. So we're kind of fixing on the fly here. So text area width 100%, height 95. Then we have our submit button. Width is 100 pixels. We're floating left. Our font weight is 200. Our text transform is uppercase, and our margin right is 10 pixels. Then we have a reset button with a width of 100 pixels, floating left again. Padding on the left is 10 pixels, font weight is 200, and our text transform is uppercase. Then let's scroll. And I think that is it until we get to our media query. So for our first media query, let's go to the 768 media query. Look at how much code we've done, huh? Because this is the last one that I'm coding with you guys. So we've done a lot of code this this mod. You should be really proud of yourself. All right, first one, and under the media query for 768 is contact. The width is 90%. Again, we have that background image. The checkbox width is 30%. Hold on. Let me try a float left here. Let's see if that works. Nope. And that didn't move it up. It's not going to hurt anything. You can leave it there. Then we have a contact form. Width is 90%. We have float at none, clear at none. And I think that's it. Then we move on to our min width, our 1024 media query. We added a column MD 3/4 and we set that width to 60%. Then we had a contact, dot contact, height at 600 pixels. Background was set to contact background image. And we have note repeat because it looked awful. Then we have the contact H2. The padding at the top was 10 pixels. Padding at the bottom was 20 pixels. Margin at the top was 20 pixels. Margin on the left was 20 pixels. Margin on the right was 20 pixels. And margin on the bottom was 10 pixels. And contact P, and I said that I thought maybe we should try pasting in the properties that we had. So I'm going to try it. Don't do what I'm doing right now. Let me double check how this looks. It didn't change it too much. I don't even think it changed it at all. Actually, I like this a little. Why don't I line that up? So I need the margin. I know what I need to do. I need to figure out margin on my left is 20 pixels here. All right, there we go. Margin on my left, 20 pixels. Let me save that. All right, perfect. All right. So in the contact P, in the selectors that you already have, just change the margin left from 10 pixels to 20 pixels, and that's lining it up with our headline and everything else that's going on. Then we had contact form, margin on the left is 20 pixels. See, it's all nice and lined up now. The width is 90%, padding on the bottom is 20 pixels. And the float is left. Then we have a text area. The height is 100 pixels, which again, it's running a little bit close. So you might even be able to maybe try changing this to 95 also. Or even 90. Let's try 90. There we go. Change that to 90. It just bumps the buttons up a little bit. And width is at 100%. And that's it. And there it is, right there. Your contact page. That looks a lot better. Media query. And no matter what we do, this is gonna look awful. at the in between. We can try, let's try one thing before we stop for today. Under global, contact, go to show set. What if we just repeat X and see how that works? Let me just see what that looks like. See, it doesn't even repeat correctly. No, just leave it how it is. You can take that off. And save. So no repeat. Just leave it at no repeat. You're fine. So you can leave it exactly how it was when we just went through these. There we go. All right, so this was the last page that I was coding with you guys. And again, if you didn't check from the beginning in the source code, make sure your title says Contact Lawn Care Landscaping. It should be line 5. Just make sure that that is correct. So at this point, you may be working a little bit out of order based on how the assignments and the assessments are, but or how the assignments and the assessments are set up. So your last page that you will be working on will be the gallery. I coded in a little bit of different order, so that's why you could probably see some of my gallery code in the styles when I was scrolling through and it didn't look the same as yours. Don't worry about that if you have not yet coded the gallery page. All right, well, I hope that this was helpful for everyone, having me code along with you. And again, make sure that you're pausing and just trying to follow what you see on my screen. If you want to keep working with that background, you can keep working with that background, but I will definitely accept it if it looks like this. All right, have a great day, everyone.